Kelvin Hepner with RealAgriculture, joined now by Dr. Terry Griffin with Kansas State University, cropping systems economist. And Terry, talking about data platforms in agriculture, you go to a farm show or a meeting or read the news, a lot of talk about data in farming and a lot of options out there right now when it comes to all the platforms, farmers trying to decide what creates value for my farm, what doesn't. And right now it just seems like there are many options on the table, things to look at.
Yeah, there are a dozen, maybe several dozens, maybe a few hundred data platforms that exist today. We're seeing more come online all the time, and we've seen some that have already gone out of business or been merged or acquired with other groups. And we're likely to see more coming online. I do predict that the total number will start to go down soon as more go out of business than enter the industry. And eventually we should be at 5 or a handful of data platforms, and that's when the action is really going to start as we move forward and farms start to get real serious about who they're going to join when it comes to data analytics.
So when you say there are dozens or even hundreds of data platforms out there, what does this all include? Is this everything from what manufacturing companies are offering to software companies to companies even outside of agriculture that we're using in agriculture now?
Yeah, so I'm not referring to, let's say, those who offer some data services or data analytics. I'm referring to the data platform itself and those who control the flow of data. And you're right, manufacturers of equipment, CPCs, crop protection chemicals, software companies, and then there are groups who are outside of agriculture altogether who are likely to be in this group as well.
Okay. So then we should expect consolidation. What does this mean down the road, and how does that impact farmers' decisions now in terms of who they sign up with, who they share data with?
So a lot of farms are feeling like they're in a hurry to join a company, and they're wondering who that should be. When in reality, it's the data companies, the data platforms are in a hurry because essentially the one who achieves the critical mass of grower farm fields acres first is a winner-take-all scenario. And so they're in a hurry. And so farmers are feeling some of this rush to be involved, and which is more perceived than accurate, I think. I think a lot of farms, if they're unsure, their best bet would be to wait until the benefits of them joining outweigh the costs.
Okay. At this point, though, you could join, I guess, if you did see that benefit already.
Sure. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, and that may help perpetuate who the winner will be. But just the fact is, we don't know who the winner will be, and folks it's in their best interest for farms not to join every group out there. And if they choose poorly early on, they'll have to join someone else in the future. And so once we get down to maybe less than a dozen, maybe 5 or so data platforms would be a good time to take it real serious about who to align with.
Okay. So at this point, are there any clear signs as to who is leading that race, or could it even be somebody from outside of agriculture? We have Amazon getting into the food market. Sure. You have Google everywhere. Is it somebody like that even that gets into it?
It's very possible it could be one of those groups outside of agriculture who understands data, big data, and data platforms. You know, it's also very likely that the winner may not be anyone we've ever heard of. They may not even exist today. Or it could be one of the players that we know. We do know a few characteristics from looking at other industries and economic theory would suggest that they really do not need any competitor in their own space, and so that may negate a lot of the groups that we are thinking about.
Okay. What would a parallel industry be, or is there an example of something that we could compare this to?
Yeah, sure. Logistics of UPS, FedEx. I think that a classic example was UPS had a big data logistics transportation group, and it was not operating with all the competitors, so they spun it off, and now FedEx would participate with the spun off company.
Oh, okay. So in terms of the decisions then that farmers are making now, we also have the privacy issue and ownership of data that we're dealing with. What kind of checklist do you recommend a grower goes through when they're looking at, okay, this is the company that I'm committing to?
Well, there's 3 main questions I would ask a company. One is, how many acres do you have today? And the reason I ask that is this is a true network effect. And if you're the only farmer in the system, there's really no reason for you to join, right? Because it's a network. The number of other acres gives insight to the value. So that's the first question I would ask. How many farms do you currently work with? The second question is, what kind of analytics do you provide that benefit my farm today? A lot of analytics from the companies seem to be very similar to each other, and so I'm looking for something that's above and beyond what's being offered by the competitors. And the third thing is data quality. How are they processing data? Are they correcting flow delays from yield monitors? Are they ensuring that there's anomalies are taken care of that or otherwise could lead us to bad decisions?
Should we care at all if there are secondary values to our data, if it's giving us a primary value in our agronomic decisions on the farm?
Yeah, so secondary uses of farm data, the reuse of farm data is going to be very important. The primary uses of, let's say, yield monitor is document yields, conduct on-farm experiments with new products, but it's the secondary uses, the reuse of that data once it's in a community, that's going to lead us into a big data world in agriculture.
Okay. So that's where you'd have perhaps a grain company knowing what's happening in a certain part of the world,
Sure.
or those sorts, or an insurance company potentially getting involved, and we're seeing some interest in that again too.
Yeah, those are good examples. It could be a regulatory idea of governments tracking how much inputs are used around environmentally sensitive areas. It could be early alert systems to benefit farmers themselves if we know the number of insect or pathogen pests that our crop scouts are finding in different areas. Once that data is put together, a lot of, let's say, regional benefit could occur.
Mm-hmm. So what's the timeline for this then, Terry?
Yeah, that's a good question. Soon, I hope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you think there's going to be dominoes falling soon in terms of this space?
I do. I do think it's going to be less than 5 years. 10 years ago, we never heard the phrase big data, especially in agriculture. And now it's a tremendous thing. There's a lot of venture capital money chasing this idea. I think it's going to move sooner than later.
Okay, cool. Well, very interesting. We're certainly following where it goes and seeing a lot of it happen right in front of our eyes right now. So thanks for taking the time, Terry.
Thanks, Calvin. Appreciate it.